Warp Core Breach, Episode 32, Wheel of Factions!
Captain, enemy ships decloaking off our port bow.
They're charging weapons.
Shields up, red alert.
They're firing!
Containment failure detected. Warp core breach imminent.
Welcome to Warp Core Breach, Episode 32. On this episode, Nick and David debate the best ship in each faction. Hugo discusses the differences between hard and soft control. Griffin attempts to destroy the Earth again. Wouldn't it be nice if we got everything we wanted from Kruge's Bird of Prey and the HMS Bounty? Out of Arc introduces us to their roundtable. And finally, we all discuss our top Mirror Universe ships.
Warning. Warp core breach detected.
I'm David Montgomery, and here's my co-host, the Regent to my Intendant.
Kneel before me.
I have a silver jumpsuit, I'm good.
Who are you, Barbarella?
No, I'm Kira.
Played by Jane Fonda?
No, Nana Vista. Visitor?
Visitor.
Visitor, yeah. We'll just call you Mr. Wolf now.
Only one woman can call me that. And I haven't met her in this reality.
I thought that was me. Well, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. This cold is starting to leave my body. It's still holding on, but I'm fighting back.
Wish I could say the same for what's afflicting me.
Yeah, well, I think that Klingon pain sticks are the next course of treatment.
One would think.
Unfortunately, they're a bit hard to come by these days.
Yeah, Worf took them all.
I know, he did. So I'm busy plotting the demise of my venue in Wrath of Khan. Of course, I say that in all talk, but this is an event that I'm trying to play more for fun. But yeah, I have officially decided that I'm breaking out Weapon Zero.
Are you now?
It's not that big of a shock. It's the ship that shows up, has no shields, gets a lot of defense dice, it works well in and out of the nebula.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna work. The rest of the fleet, well, as of recording, still up for debate. By the time this goes to air, I'll have it figured out.
So if it's breaking out, is its nickname going to be the Gorch?
No, if I go in one direction, the fleet will probably be called Seek Medical Attention.
State the nature of the medical emergency.
Oh, that would probably be a more Star Trek name. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see which way I end up going. But there's some good things in the works.
Oh, yeah. As long as you're not Klingon, you can get away with saying please.
Right. Right. I don't think I have Klingons in the work for this one.
Yeah, because if Klingons had an EMH, it would basically just say, "What's wrong with you?"
Of course, in Klingon.
Naturally. No, if I was fluent, I would say it right now.
Yeah, when somebody wants to prank the Doctor, they make him speak Romulan.
Uh...
Or Hyrogen. So, anything going on with you in Trek these days, Nick?
Not too much. We're having a good old time in our weekly gatherings on Wednesdays. We've got the classic OP coming up on the 20th, so we're definitely looking forward to that. And just on a lark, we've opted to go with Aerapure. A little loose. We're allowing everything from Enterprise through TOS, including the movies, up to Kirk era. So no Picard era forward.
Yeah.
And we're throwing in a little bit of creativity. So if you've got a Vulcan or some of the older Romulans and stuff like that, any character card or whatever that would feasibly have been alive at the time, we're going to kind of sweep that under the rug and let that happen.
So Tuvok, for instance.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Not that Tuvok's super powerful, but it would work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad they don't have like a Ensign Picard card.
Yeah, well, the basic idea is to avoid the scimitars and the negvars and the board ships and all that. Yeah. I suppose I could have just gone, capping primary weapon value at like 4 or something like that, or 3 or 4. But then you'd have a bunch of Type 8s and upgradeds, and then you'd be eliminating the Xindi Weapon 0 option as well. So
right.
I figured Arrow was the way to go.
Yeah. It just simplifies it. Most people know where to draw the line.
Yeah. Well, also considering that I had basically built a Voyager knot with just like every armor and defense imaginable, to the point where I don't think much of anybody would be able to take it down in the time allotted. It had that much hull, shields, and everything else. I think I got it at like over 30. 20 or 30? I don't know.
There might be some things that could do it, but it would be tough.
Yeah. I just loaded that sucker up, full tilt, all points into one ship, and that's one of the reasons why people have been gloming on to the whole suggested format. So we don't see that sort of thing anymore.
Yeah, how many defense dice was that thing rolling?
Ungodly amounts.
Good, so make charges would actually help a little bit.
Not much, because it was mostly actual hull and shields with defense dice.
Oh, no, I understand that, but...
You could slowly, hopefully, maybe whittle it down, but it would take you forever.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you'd be hurting while you were taking shots back, so... That's there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so... We've got a long show coming up because we got a couple new contributors and we don't want to burn time. But we want to get into our main topic. So we're going to have a rapid fire discussion, debate, something like that. A week ago, as of recording, almost 2 weeks by the time this goes to air, Eric Phillips on Board Game Geek posed a question. Basically, if you could only have one ship from each faction, what ship would you take?
Good question.
Yeah, great question. So Nick and I are here to talk about our thoughts. Now, I put some of my thoughts out on Board Game Geek. I'm reserving the right to change it at this point, as all good people do. But I thought it would make for a very interesting topic and a good discussion. So that's what we have, and... we're gonna chat. So we're gonna go in faction initiative order, and we're saving Mirror for last because that's our main topic that we set up months ago, and it just happened to coincide. So there we go. All right, Federation. What's your one ship?
Well, I think this one is pretty beaten down solid, and everybody knows this already. My top Federation ship is definitely the USS Prometheus. It's my framework. It's my skeleton. It's what I use, the foundation for building on.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's 5 attack dice, and it's 6 upgrade slots. And yeah, there's times you want different ships, but this has what you want built into it, and you don't have to pull upgrades to make it work. And that's the thing we want to do in this debate. It's ships as they are, not what they can become.
After upgrades, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you could make a 3 ship up to 5 quite easily with just Type 8s and upgraded with Federation.
Right. Now the slots have to factor into all of this, because that's a part of what a ship is. But we're talking about, hey, what does the ship itself bring to the table?
In its native, natural form.
Yeah. Prometheus, look, are there other good ones? Yes, of course. Fed has some of the best ships in the game. But I think what we're both saying is, if you had to just have one, that's the one we'd want.
Hailing frequencies open.
All right, Klingon. I'm going to kick this off because I'm probably the most controversial here. I want the generic Klingon Vorcha.
There was a time when I would have agreed with you 100%. But for me, I have to go with the IKS Pach.
Yeah, and that's my second choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dispute that at all.
Solid stats with built-in dice quality?
Yeah, of course, with the paw, you have to get a little bit lucky and actually roll that crit. Now, you can do things to better guarantee it with Drex, but again, that's now depending on an upgrade. So, I don't know.
When you don't have that option at all on many or any of the other ships? Yeah.
No, I get it. The paw, great ability.
Oh, yeah.
In my world, a lot of named abilities on Klingon ships just don't really matter. And so I went for stat line, and that generic Vorcha wins out to me.
I get you.
Okay, so Romulan. I know you debated on this one for a while, so where did you end up?
I just went with pure logic on this one. I went with the Scimitar, the big bad, because it's just on its own with nothing else. It's a monster, and as soon as you start to tack stuff on, it gets even scarier.
Yeah, I respect and fear the Scimitars. I absolutely do.
Even the generic one's solid.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta admit.
Because it makes it easier to just drop cloak and get out rather than feeling like, oh, I already took that ox. I want to stay cloaked because of that. I don't want to drop my cloak now. And I already have that ox. But yeah. I went prototype, and it was probably the toughest call I had to make. It is such a beast to have 3s across the board.
Very versatile.
Very versatile. And that's where I'm at. The fact that you have those 3 tech slots, the prototype can be outfitted to do just about anything. And look, am I probably wrong here? If we were actually put in this situation, am I going to regret not having a Scimitar? Yeah, I think so. But I'm also going to really enjoy having a prototype.
Yeah, that's what it was coming down to me. It was between the Scimitar and the prototype. And for me, the prototype is more fun. But hands down, dollars to donuts and all that, you know, the Scimitar's just got more bang for the buck, straight out.
Right. Probably Romulan, very controversial here, but a couple of really good ships at the top there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when it comes down to a matter of opinion, there is no wrong.
Right. You can, I mean, I would think if you said the Talvith, I would call you wrong. Or, no, actually, Romulan fighters, I would definitely call you wrong.
Oh, that's for the bottom list.
Yes. But out of a handful of several ships here, you are correct. There isn't a wrong answer.
There's no such thing as a wrong answer, except
when there is.
David's comment here. Next, Dominion.
Generic Keldon class. I don't get enough use out of the named ability to justify taking that for the extra 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be content with the generic and saving those 2 points.
And for me, I had to go with the first wave, the attack fighters, the squadron, the big, small bad for the Dominion. Because the 6 attack dice with all those tokens and the maneuverability and everything, they're pretty powerful. Range 3 with the Gallers is nice.
Yeah, rear firing with the
resource fighter.
Well, not even the resource, the upgrade, the aft cannon.
Oh, granted.
Something. Yeah, so you
right.
can make that work.
Yeah.
Again, good choice.
Yeah, I find that decision was fairly easy for me because I have a hard time favoring the Dominion in any sort of way except with their fighters, because I find I have to compensate for what they lack with upgrades and other things, and I have to work too hard to make them work for me the way I want them to.
I think that's maybe a play style thing. Because I know that there's a ton of people out there that would choose the Jem'Hadar stuff, the battle cruiser or the battleship. I don't think anyone would say Breen for this list.
Oh, I love the Breen, though. I've had so much fun with Breen.
Breen are fun, especially energy dampening.
Yeah, they're in my top 3.
If you're boiling this down to 1, it's not happening.
No. Pure maniacal control factor. Old school magic blue. Then yeah, I'd go for the energy dampening on the Breen ships, but ships alone, no dice.
Yeah, see, I'll pay the extra points, take the energy dampening on my Keldon class. I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, Borg. Here's where it gets fun.
Sphere.
Named or generic?
I'm pretty easy on that. I didn't really go define, but I went for name just for durability, just to soak that extra hit. I don't mind paying the extra 2 when you already have 360.
Sure. I took generic sphere again to save those points, but that's a tough toss up.
Well, when you're throwing 2 dice, being able to split your attack can come in handy from time to time.
I get it. I truly do. Again, it's not one that I've ever been able to make enough use out of.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I think that's going to depend on the point world in which we live in. If we're talking still a 120, 130 world, if we go up to like a 150, 160 4-ship world, then I think I will take the named sphere because I want to split my fire.
Well, especially considering that I typically play in a 150 environment. Only when we come down to OPs do we ever knock it down to official levels.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, that's my justification.
In an OP environment, I would go generic.
Okay.
So I'm dead on with you on that one.
Okay, so now we're saying the same thing for the same reasons.
Absolutely.
Okay. Species. You got 4 options here. Alpha, Beta, Omega, and generic.
Yeah, I went for Bioship Beta.
Okay. So
I just figured that one would be the one I would use most often. I love all 3 of them, and each one would have their use in different situations. But I just think that the defensive angle is probably the one I would use the most with any build that would encompass a Bioship.
I hear what you're saying. So I go Alpha because in my world, it's never bad to give someone an Ox Power token.
Unless they're flying the Avenger, in which case they're dead in 1 or 2 hits anyway.
Yeah, if you're inflicting 3 damage, you've killed them. Unless they've added shields or something.
That's not going to work too well unless they add 4 shields, because they wouldn't be able to kick in their EHP in time to save their behinds.
Yeah. Now, if you want the pure fun ship, that's Omega.
Oh, yeah. That's the mess with your opponent ship.
Yeah. And that one almost won a semifinal at regionals. It almost came up. It just, missed it by a shield, actually.
Oh, wow, by 1 shield.
Yeah. Like 4 crits were rolled. And it was shield, hull. But...
Oh.
Yeah, so the Omega's that fun one, but, so random if it works.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is getting 2 crits to a hull in the same attack and not having already have destroyed them, too.
Right.
So it's got to be a ship with at least 3 hull that you're punching through the shields, getting to the hull, or just having a weaker attack and rolling the 2 crits.
Yeah.
So I just find that highly conditional, but like you said, it's for a fun way.
Yeah. So Beta for defense, Alpha for messing with them, Omega for fun, and generic for everyday use, maybe.
Yeah, the Omega is kind of like the Mr. Mixelplick for the Star Trek universe, or Q.
Yeah.
The imp from the 5th dimension.
Alright, Kazon. I think we have agreement here. At least I really hope we do.
The Relora Sankur?
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty hard to argue with that one. Green, +1 attack, pounce.
Now, I have seen the Nistrum Culla used to some decent success. But it's not as good because it doesn't have scan built in on the action bar.
No kidding. Why they did that? It kind of makes sense thematically. Game-wise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like, and they pick this moment to be fluffy?
Yeah. Now, the one advantage, or I should say the one disadvantage of the Rolaris Sankur is the second weapon slot and only one tech, but there's not that much good Kazon tech.
Yeah, so unless you're playing mixed, you're not too worried about it.
Nope. Alright. Zindi!
Oh, this one wasn't too difficult for me. It came down to the obvious two, and I just went for straight on. I went for the Azadi Prime.
I get it.
Yeah, like, it doesn't have the most idyllic maneuver dial, but it's a pretty solid ship.
It's an Excelsior.
Main thing, too, is just, it's a pretty ship. I love the look of it, and, I can't just see myself going strictly with, like, an insectoid ship, and the Reptilian's kind of interesting. Don't like the ability much, because I'm not a torpedo fan, at least not in Attack Wing. So it's got decent mobility, and the come abouts and all that. And the weapon's pretty cool, but it's a bit of a beast, and with no shields, you got to be playing like a scenario that caters to it, like the Mutara Nebula.
Yep. So my choice is Weapon Zero, because it's just fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what I want. It's right. We're looking at a format that is fun, but also, what does your choice give you that you're not getting anywhere else? Here I'm getting a large base ship, and I'm getting something that, for me, I haven't taken another, like, super defensive ship. I guess prototype a little bit, but this thing is going to take a while to die. So,
especially if you've got some Aux token management built into this puppy.
Yeah. Even then, I don't care about getting actions.
Yeah.
I'll just live.
Stack them Aux tokens.
Yeah. Make it work. So, it's fun. And that's my rationale. Okay, Bajoran. Again, probably not a hard choice here.
What do you mean? You're not going to fall in love with the... no. For me, it's definitely going to be the dual faction Deep Space Nine. Because, like, the other ships, seriously?
I mean, I guess you could make a little case for Interceptor 5. It's kind of cool to still get actions when you bump. And to be able to roll defense dice against mines. But that's not amazing.
Overlapping a planet's kind of neat if you play with planets.
Yeah. But... again, you gotta play with planets.
I know it's not really Bajoran, but it just kind of led me to think of it as a sidetrack. I really would like to see Cassidy Yates' ship for the Independent, the Kosa.
Oh yeah, the Zosha. Yeah, that would be good fun. Independent, of course, but... as
I said, yeah. It just kind of led me down the train of thought. I think that would be a really cool pack for Attack Wing. It wouldn't have to be super powerful, but it would have some Maquis shenanigans going on, so she might have a little, hidden weapon or something like that. That'd be a cool mechanic. Equip a weapon face down or something like that. Because it's just like a trading ship. It's a cargo vessel, ferrying things back and forth, but, oh wait, it can defend itself too.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We've got that coming for episode 44. That's going to be in, like, late July. Weird ships that we wish were in the game. Oh,
I've already got my list, and I've actually just added and tweaked it a little bit this afternoon, so...
Well, there we go. See, folks, we are so far planned ahead, I think we're good until, like, episode 50, in terms of our question of the week and top 3, so...
I think by the time we get to that point, we're going to be having the first annual Captain Christopher Pike chair racing event.
We're not going to be that old. All right.
We're in warp core years.
Yes. So I also take Deep Space Nine, but if you don't like that answer, I'm going to give you my pure Bajoran answer. and that's the Ratosha.
Hell yes.
So, getting that battle station is a free action as long as you're close. Having the crew slots to put Bajoran Militia on it, and I know there's one Bajoran captain that gives you a crew slot, so now you can get 3 Bajoran Militia.
Mm-hmm.
You get that free battle station, you get your action to do Bajoran Militia. Now you're looking at a 5-2-3-2 ship. It's a bit scary. It's not, like, invincible by any means, but it's at least intimidating.
This is true.
Oh, and you put on the assault upgrade that Bajorans have, and now it's actually a 6 attack dice ship. So, yeah, it's there. I'm not saying it's amazing, but the Ratosha is at least a cool ship to have. And I'm glad that it's in the game. So if you won't let me take Deep Space Nine, I'll take the Ratosha and I'll still be happy. Alright, Ferengi! Again, probably not a hard one. Can I get a Quartz Treasure? Yeah, the only Ferengi ship I've ever voluntarily flown in a tournament.
Yeah.
I think we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Vulcan.
Yeah, for me, Vulcan, I definitely go for the Dakir, the named version. +1 attack if you initiate an attack at range 3.
Oh, you're going Dakir. See, I go Taukir. I want to absorb hits and live longer.
I get that, but I like to, kill them, eliminate them, get out of the way so I don't have to take more damage. I'd rather blow you up faster than I don't have to worry about it.
Now, see, your attack die has a 50% chance of hitting me. My defense ability has a 100% chance of taking 1 less damage.
But here's the thing, my Dakir isn't exactly facing your Talkir, so I don't necessarily have to worry about your 100%, because I'm facing somebody else who doesn't have that ability.
Perhaps. I'm just saying, it's fun. I think the Dakir's reasonable. I like my Talkir better.
Yeah, Idix to Selats, they're both great choices, but I'm sticking by my Dakir.
We both want to take Fatosh Katur, right?
Come on.
Okay. Alrighty. Independent.
Oh, I don't think there's going to be much argument here.
Thalia 1. And if I can't have Thalia 1, give me the other
performance,
Thalia 1.
Maybe.
No, okay. Okay, seriously, though.
The Thalia 1 3/4?
Yes. No, seriously, Alpha Hunter, though. Alpha Hunter is quite possibly the best independent ship. There's some other really good ones out there now, though.
I like the potential of the Kumari, but just as a stock ship, it can't compete directly with the Alpha Hunter.
Well, the Alpha Hunter will fly circles around it.
Literally and figuratively.
Now, the 180 arc of the Kumari will help.
That is true.
So, it would be interesting.
But with the maneuverability of the Alpha Hunter, with its maneuver dial plus the sensor echo, you have the potential of getting into that rear area where you don't have to worry so much.
Yeah. Now, we start talking about a fleet as a whole. I might want a Kumari instead, but that's still tough.
I honestly haven't flown a Kumari yet, but I should make a point of doing so.
Yeah.
I'll likely do that in one of the upcoming OPs.
Oh yeah, especially if you're era specific.
Exactly.
That's a good thing to do.
Mm.
All right. And now we'd tell you our mirror choices, but you're going to have to stay tuned for that because we've got our top 3 at the end of the show. But for now, you get to hear our contributor segments today.
Got a couple new treats for you there.
Yeah, and a couple of old favorites. It's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting those candy boxes, only it's a special edition. So you get a bunch of the flavors you all know and love, and it's like, oh, we've added a couple of new ones. Fantastic.
We like it. All right, so we'll be back in a bit. You'll find out our mirror choices.
What does Section 31 do, apart from kidnapping Starfleet officers?
We search out and identify potential dangers to the Federation.
And once identified,
we deal with them.
Greetings, Admirals. this is Hugo, bringing you the inaugural Section 31 Intelligence Briefing. In this segment, we're going to be looking at emerging threats in the Star Trek Attack Wing meta. We'll be analyzing how to enact these threats yourself, how to respond to them, and how to counter them. For this first episode, we're going to focus on the rise of control-oriented builds. First, let's distinguish between soft control and hard control. Soft control is a form of control that impacts your opponent's choices without completely dictating them. Now, Cloaked Minds is one form of soft control that almost everyone who plays this game is familiar with. Cloaked Minds set up a piece of terrain on the board that your opponent then has to either maneuver around or go straight through and pay a price. Brunt and EM Pulse are also soft control. They unleash aux tokens on your opponent, thereby impacting their movement options and making them slightly more predictable. More recently, we've begun to see the rise of hard control in the meta. Specifically, we've seen two cards becoming a significant part of winning builds. Lure is the first one, and Projected Stasis Field is the second. I myself won the Washington State Regional in February, using a build that centered around these two cards. The basic idea behind my build was to use Lure to steer an enemy ship away from the initial joust, thereby avoiding a major shot from them, and using Projected Stasis Field to set up a second ship for a kill shot from one of my own ships, and also canceling a second attack. This hard control dictated where my opponent was going to be, and dictated that they would have no shields and no shot on at least one ship. If you'd like to learn more about my build and the decisions that went into making it, look on Board Game Geek in the strategy section for a report. More recently, I'm Not Picard also posted on his blog about a build that centers on using these two cards, although his take was more Klingon-centric than my Valjean and Bioship-oriented build. Still, his post is a good overview of how to use these cards and what an impact they can have on the game. Also, at the most recent regional at Whitby, we saw these two cards used to great effect by the second place winner, and the first place winner added not only Lure, but fake messages to his build for some amazing hard control on enemy ship movement. In short, it appears that control builds are here to stay and are going to have a major impact on the game going forward. So it's important that we learn how to play around these builds, whether you yourself are fielding these cards or not. So, what can be done to respond to these cards? Well, mobility enhancing upgrades are probably the key to not being caught unaware or off guard from these attacks. Let's take a look at some of these cards. Romulan Pilot, Gorn Pilot, Klingon Navigator, Warp Jump, Admiral Forrest. These are probably some of your best bets for allowing your ships to move a second time or to change their direction once they've been hit by a hard control card. In the case of Lure, added mobility lets you swing back into the fight much more quickly. Or you can go a different way, taking a card such as Full Stop to completely negate the effects of a card that affects your movement. For Projected Stasis Field, keep in mind it's a range 1 to 2 weapon. Added mobility therefore gives you more options in keeping your ship in a place where you can ensure they will either avoid getting hit from the Projected Stasis Field, or, if they are affected by it, will give you a chance to swing away out of an enemy arc, and therefore out of a potential kill shot. Finally, another benefit of mobility enhancing cards is that they're just good on their own. Even if you don't face a hard control build, you'll still find yourself making great use and having a great impact from these cards, because a lot of ships now are 90-degree arc ships that are popular in the meta. And even if you find yourself against 360-degree arc ships, mobility enhancing cards can help you stay at range 3 and therefore avoid return fire. I hope that helps in dealing with and responding to control builds when you face them in tournaments. We'll end this briefing with a seed of a build that hopefully can inspire you in making your own control build. The Dauntless is a ship that is known for its control abilities, with its captain Arturus in particular having some good control effects. He can disable a captain or disable 2 opposing crew members, therefore throwing a wrench into your opponent's plans. Tack on an EM Pulse onto the Dauntless and Arturus, and you now have a build that can mess with your opponent's captain, his crew, his attack values, and his movement through the placing of auxiliary tokens. Finally, E-Impulse also boosts your attack on the Dauntless. What else, if anything, would you add to this build? Let us know on the boards, and we'd like to see what you can come up with. Until next time, this is a Section 31 Intelligence Briefing.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today we're going to destroy the Earth, or at least that's what the mission's called. It came with Weapon Zero and replicates Enterprise's 0 Hour. The forces on the Xindi weapon side, 120 SP, including Weapon Zero, the named one captained by Dolim, and it can have no upgrade that allows you to teleport, plus 2 other ships. On the Allied side, 150 SP, including 1 Federation ship and 3 other ships. It's got a 36 by 60 mat, long from north to south, and the planet Earth is 4 inches from the south edge. The Xindi set up within 8 inches from the north edge, and the Feds stand anywhere from 48 inches from the south edge. So the Feds can start up basically almost anywhere on the board. Now, it's very important to follow the special rules, especially 2 of them. I'm going to describe those first, because if you don't, the Xindi weapon's going to die. The only way you get a balanced mission is to follow these rules. The first is that the Xindi weapon can roll 2 green die for every hit it receives from enemies, but if it does that, it takes 2 aux tokens per shot, and it can do that for every shot it takes during the round. If it has 4 or more aux tokens, it must make a green move. Now, normally it can only take 1 green die for every hit, and it gets 1 aux token, so the mission is allowing it to double its normal perk. The second rule that you must follow is that any ship ending up within range 1 to the Weapon Zero ship suffers 1 damage and may not perform any actions. I guess that means you take its actions away if Weapon Zero moves last, which it's likely to do. Now, if you do both of those, you get a pretty balanced mission, but there are a couple of other mission rules. The first is that the arming sequence and destructive blast upgrades cannot be affected by enemy ships, so no stealing, discarding, or disabling them. Second thing is that when you fire at Earth with the Weapon Zero ships, any crits become normal hits. Secondly, any ship but Weapon Zero that fires at Earth can do a maximum of 1 hit per strike. But the Xindi weapon ship, Weapon Zero, gets full benefit of all the dice it hits Earth with. And if it shoots with the Destructive Blast upgrade, its dice are doubled. Of course, that is a discard, so you can only do that once. Now, the objectives on the Xindi side are to destroy Earth or all Allied ships, and you do 16 points of damage to Earth to destroy it. And the Allied side, you destroy all the Xindi ships. Now, if you follow the special rules above, you get a balanced mission, or a pretty balanced mission. If you don't, Weapon Zero is going to die about halfway to Earth. So you'll have to be very, very careful about that. On the Xindi side, you have to use Weapon Zero and Dolim, which has an 8 skill, which means you're going to be moving last and firing first. And the other 2 ships you're likely to have on your side, if you've got all the various ships, are the Reptilian and the Insectoid Xindi. The important thing on the Xindi side is to keep the Weapon Zero moving and to use the other ships as skirmishers, hopefully to try to destroy 1 or more of the Allied ships. On the Allied side, you probably have an NX class, maybe the new Kamari, maybe a Dakir or another Vulcan ship, and the Xindi Aquatic. You can have Type 8s and upgraded shields and anything you want, really. But the mission is very interesting in that it's self-leveling. What I mean by that is when you can take 2 green die for every red die somebody actually hits you with, you end up rolling quite a lot of green die. On average, you tend to take about 1/3 of the damage. So if you have a lot of dice, more of your dice are going to be taken away by the green dice. So on average, what's going to happen is no matter how many dice you shoot with, if you manage to get anything through to Weapon Zero, it's probably only 1 hit. Of course, if that 1 hit is a crit, that can make a big difference. So, that can happen, but it works almost as easily to get a point through if you've got a 3-weapon ship or a 2-weapon ship as it does to have a 4-weapon ship. So no matter what you pick to go up against Weapon Zero, it'll be about equally effective. So have fun with this scenario. It's a lot of fun to play. If you follow the special rules, it actually works. I'd rate it 3.5 stars and say it's worth playing. I'll see you next week.
Hi, and welcome to Out of Arc. I'm Stephen.
I'm Will.
I'm Anders.
Brian.
Liz. And I'm Jackie.
And this is a new segment that we're trying out. We're going to be talking about many different things. I think a lot of what we'll be talking about is going to be session recap. Today we just finished playing the classic movie series OP1.
The Wrath of Khan.
The Wrath of Khan. And that was a really fun scenario. It brought a lot of different builds into play. So, what did you bring, Anders?
Regents Flagship, so the Mir Negvar, the Federation fighters with as much stuff as I could fit on it, and then the Rular Sankur, just ships that have large hull, especially the Regents Flagship was, range 1, so everything's range 1, so, heavy hitter there, and then just, the starter Picard, and Sulu, Hoodriker, so, a lot of defense, a lot of battle stations as often as I could make it, so, at range 1 that was pretty heavy. And then the fighters seem to work fairly well, just because the range doesn't penalize them as much and they can take a lot of damage.
Now you tried something neat with the fighters, didn't you? You were ramming into a lot of things on purpose?
Yeah, at one point, yeah.
On purpose.
Well, yeah, and in my gaming as well, I tried to, at one point, overlap 2 of his ships to try and see if I could get more damage there. I didn't pull that off, but I was just trying.
Yeah, because you have to roll against your captain's skill when you have a bump in the nebula, and by bumping 2 ships at once, he gets to double the times that happens.
That's good. And then Will, you brought the weapon 0. As did I. We had at this OP we had 2 weapon 0s.
Yeah, when you look at a build a scenario like this where your shields are useless in the nebula, and most of us I think built for flying into the nebula, the natural thing is to have as much hull you can pack in with as little shields because you're not going to want to spend the points on your shields. And weapon 0 is almost the perfect combination of those two. You have a very high hull ship. You get those really big sensor echoes that you get for all your ships. And with a big base ship, you can get a really big distance from both your regular movement and your sensor echo. And of course, it's a 6 attack, and you're already getting defense dice, and you can boost it even further with the named ability. There's really there's nothing against it in this scenario.
Mm-hmm. And then, Brian, you brought the Borg.
I did. I brought a giant Borg tactical cube with a tactical drone on it.
So you're also going after the big base with the sensor echoes?
Well, I was more going after the cutting beam because it's range 1 and everyone's going to be wanting to get in that close anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, with the tactical drone, that cutting beam went off exactly 0 times in the course of the tournament. So, you need high captain skill.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I get to move later,
right.
have a better tractor beam, and get to fire before they blow me up.
Right. Or in my case, almost blow you up. So Brian had this huge tactical cube, and it died pretty easily in the first round. I played you the second round, and I got 2 shots at you, and I brought you to within 1 hull point. And so you survived, and then your next turn you backed out of the nebula. So you were flying right along the edge of the nebula, in and out.
Right.
And so once you went out of the nebula, your 7 shields came back up, which was very annoying. So it's like, I'm not going to go after that. Now, but you, Liz.
So I ran also the Mirror Regents Flagship and a generic Mirror Universe
Negvar.
The word just went out of my head. Yeah, so Regents Flagship and generic Negvar with...
Car.
No, but what's my third?
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Well,
no, it was a Federation.
The Thunderchild.
The Thunderchild.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, what's the Thunderchild ability?
So that was nice. The Thunderchild, when you get attacked, if you don't take any damage, then you get to attack the ship that attacked you. Which is really nice. I never got to use it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, it never happened. It survived pretty much every game, and it didn't get shot very much because everybody kept focus firing on the Regent's Flagship. And I also put tribbles on my Regents Flagship, so then I try to scatter tribbles throughout the rest of my fleet inside the nebula. And once you have tribbles, you get the extra dice for all of those.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well for me against Will's because he was
I had
flying
Klingons.
Klingons.
Yeah, I was flying the Mak'ta because I figured the Mak'ta has you roll one less attack die at range 1, and you're always going to be attacked at range 1. So the Mak'ta is great, and it has a pretty good hull to shield ratio. But of course, I was running core and 3 Klingon crews, so the tribbles don't like them at all.
Yeah,
and,
so I flew up with the Regent's Flagship and the Thunderchild and beamed all my triples onto the planet.
Yeah, and that reduced my attack and my defense by 2, respectively, and that spelled the end of the Mak'ta against all of her ships. So.
Yeah. Yes. And Jackie, I think you brought the most fun build.
Well, I was really struggling on what to bring for this particular event. I had some similar thoughts to the rest of you, Regent's Flagship and Weapon Zero. And I really wanted to get away from doing something obvious or something I haven't done before. And I looked through literally every card I own yesterday. And that's all of them, by the way.
That must have taken a while.
Yeah, it took about 7 hours. And I decided that I would bring the Bajorn because, again, we have a great hull to shield ratio. Low point ships, they've got some decent discards so you can get some alpha strike. They're extremely maneuverable, so basically everything can do a 1 white turn and has a white come about maneuver. So I thought that would pair well with the sensor echo thematics, and I'd be able to get some good maneuvering.
And I should say, actually, I had a really hard time shooting her for a while because I couldn't get turned around with the Regent's Flagship. There's just no come about, and I was trying not to fly out of the nebula. I just could not get turned around fast enough, so I spent like 3 turns turning around.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
I will say they were really fun. They were not victorious. I think I destroyed 2 ships throughout the entire game today.
Yeah.
But the thing that was really fun was just how flimsy they were. Because there was a great amount of bumping going on, and when you have a lot of your Bajorn captains being 6 skill or less, in particular I had to fly one with 3 and 2 skill, bumping basically put your ship on the verge of death every single time. And the one exception to that was the Interceptor 5, where the text allowed me to ram somebody, and as long as I was ramming them on my movement, I didn't take damage from bumping a ship base due to the ship card. So that was fun. The Thunderchild took some damage from that. Unfortunately, I couldn't destroy it because then they rammed me and I just died because the thing had no hull to speak of.
It was sort of accidental. Nose to nose. Then nowhere else to go.
So it's memorable. I've learned that 130 points of Bajorns is far too many points.
So I think that 2 of the most surprising things that were fielded today was Brian, your Muon token.
Oh yeah, I brought the Muon token.
Okay, so I was flying the Xindi Weapon Zero with the Sea Turtle Captain, Caliphate something whatever.
Mansour.
Yeah, I called him
the Zen Turtle.
The Zen Turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and so he was just re-rolling defense dice, or you know he was with the Weapon Zero. The ship action is you take an Ox token and you get to roll as many defense dice as you got hit, which is great, but it takes an Ox token. If I moved too fast, then I was taking damage, and so you basically dictated what moves I could make. It was just the green ones.
Right.
Because I had that when you put that Muon token on me, I'd already accumulated like 5 Ox tokens or something like that, and so it was ridiculous. So you took that ship out of the equation, and then I think the best fielding today was Will. You brought what'd you bring?
I flew the drone. It was a very last minute decision. I decided to fly Prototype 01. Mostly as a mine carrier, just to carry Cloaked Minds, because I realized I don't usually play Cloaked Minds. I think they're pretty mean, and I proved today why. Because inside the mine, in the nebula, you can't scan, so you can't reduce the attack dice. You have no shields. You can't have multi-adaptive shields, because the shields are all down. There's really very little defense, if any, against them.
That was absolutely killer. That just, I think that did most of the damage to my fleet when I was...
That's
fighting.
I only hit one of them once. I had no problems.
She did a very skillful sensor echo with all of her fleet, and she did an end run almost entirely around my mines. I think she flew once through them.
Liz, you are the queen of maneuvering and flying these ships. I mean, every time I've played you, you just outfly. Well, you outfly me, but that's not saying much. That's setting the bar really low.
Well, I always try to outfly Will because he's got all those minefields. He had 3 minefields scattered through the nebula, and I'm totally set up to only run in the nebula. So there was one little corridor down the left side of the board where I could squeeze my ships through and not hit his minefields. So I just sensor echoed all of my ships over onto the left edge of the board and ran up the edge. I clipped one mine going by once and pretty much killed my generic
I did have a good roll on that one. I think I had 2 hits and a crit with that.
2 hits and a crit off the minefield. I was like,
It definitely made a lot of difference, but it was a very close game. That was a very tense one.
And if you hadn't canceled my hit from the Regents Flagship, I would have had you.
Yeah. Ibex Dynasty is a pretty fantastic card on the Weapon Zero, because if you really just don't think you're going to be able to deal with that next attack, especially when you have 0 shields, go ahead and just cancel it. And attack cancellation is a tricky thing. It's been nerfed quite a bit recently. Conditional surrender is not nearly what it used to be, but that Ibex Dynasty is a pretty nice card. It's 5-point discard with, you can put any 1-point weapon on there. It's very easy to do that. Unfortunately, Zindi, you don't have any 1-point weapons, but
with Khan,
you can put any 1-point weapon, and charging weapons is terrific with the Romulans, because it's 1 point. You can use it, disable it, and then discard it.
Yeah, and I was throwing. I had the Regent's Flagship with Car and battle stations, and Odo copying Bohica off of my other ship. So I was getting a reroll, converting a blank, and battle stations with 9 dice, coming out of it with tribbles to get all those dice, and canceled it. Nothing. I didn't even get to throw any.
Although in that last turn before you destroyed my Makta, you were copying Nagaran on my Makta with Odo, which is terrific with Car, because then you get to do both attacks with your extra dice at range 1 on the Regent's Flagship. You get to do the reroll, get the extra die, and you get to convert all your battle stations with 2 crits. And that's a good. But then, of course, you killed me, so then there was no more Nagaran to copy.
Yeah.
All right, so just quick go round. One thing that you're happy you brought, and one thing that you wish you hadn't, that is like complete waste of points.
I'm definitely happy I brought Cloaked Minds, but I also really feel bad about bringing Cloaked Minds.
You should.
It's I don't often play them, and I just feel dirty every time I do. But they did have a lot of effects. The Weapon Zero worked great. My Makta actually works pretty well most of the time, except when it got shot at. But even then, it sort of survived. But I'm pretty pleased with the Cloaked Minds. They did a lot for me. And they're Era Pure, which we're going to have an Era Pure game in a few weeks.
Yep.
And those are still legal, so we'll see if they show up again. Maybe not.
Okay. Sanders?
Yeah, so one card that I did get to pull off was the mirror tractor beam. I actually ended up taking the Kazon tractor beam and the mirror tractor beam. Mirror tractor beam was nice because just give out some oxes, which is actually ended up being very useful at one point, but it's you could do that more than once. And I think Squad Leader is probably a card I shouldn't have brought because I didn't have any captains that had abilities, so couldn't use the main ability on that card. So
okay,
there were a lot of tractor beams today. Almost every version of the tractor beam that's available, because tractor beams always work at range 1. So there was a Borg tractor beam, you had a Vulcan tractor beam, you had both a Kazon and a Mirror Universe tractor beam. So there was almost every variety of tractor beam in the game.
That was the problem with the Bajorans. They didn't have any tractor beams to even
go.
out the rest of the fleet.
Yeah.
That's really where it fell down for me.
Tractor beams.
Brian?
Well, yeah, the most fun was, probably the Muon token. That's always amusing to throw at people. The thing that did the most damage was I took a Reliant with Kirk on it rather than Khan, but what can you do?
Yeah.
And, some weapon upgrades to just get good shots in. But, paper. It folded after 3 hits, and that was it.
You did get to shoot Khan with Kirk.
I did get to shoot Khan with Kirk. In the wrong ships, but that's okay.
Liz?
Oh, I'm really glad that I brought tribbles. They worked out excellent for me today. They boosted all my ships. I managed to, because of course all the shields are down inside the nebula. I got them on all 3 of my ships, and then if they built up too high, I just started beaming them off onto the other ships because they all had shields down.
Yeah.
Those worked out great.
That was my mistake. Is I put the tribbles on. I transported them over to the weapon 0. And it was collecting all these Aux tokens, so I could never get rid of the tribbles.
Oh no!
But at that point, it had the muon token, so it was just doing 1 green bank, and it was off in La La Land anyway.
Yeah, and I also brought the one thing I brought that I never ended up using was actually enhanced hull plating. I had it on the Thunderchild, and again, I never needed it because everybody kept focus firing on the Negvar and on the Regents Flagship, and the Thunderchild made it to the end of pretty much every round. I think I had it even in my round with Will. I still had the Thunderchild at the end. So it lasted. I used the enhanced hull plating once on my last turn, and that was it.
When you have those kind of defense buffs on it, and especially with the Thunderchild, which counterattacks if you don't hit, it's like a poison frog. You don't want to eat it, so it's gonna. So people avoid attacking it.
Yeah.
You have better targets, even if they're scarier.
Jackie?
Do you really need to ask?
130 points of majority?
There was a card.
Interceptor 5 was definitely the standout purely for the ability to ram things with abandon. It did not get much utility because the second it got fire on it, it was toast. But it was a lot of fun just to run into people and force them to roll. The other card I brought that I really wanted to work, but now I regret, is Neela, who you take an action and target a ship within range 3. You get to roll 3 dice, and if you roll a crit, you do a crit to the hull. And if you fail, you just disable her. Well, naturally, I used this thing like 12 times over the course of the tournament, and I never did a crit to anyone. I just feel so incredibly let down.
Yeah, I used it at least 2 or 3 times in
I used
our
it
game.
at least 3 times against the humans.
Yeah, what is this?
That was a shame.
I mean, there's the species, was it Omega pilot that is kind of similar, but that's just an action to do it.
And you have to have active shields, and that keeps it out of the nebula.
So this was a fun thing where I could just maybe put a crit through to some ship that I wasn't likely to put damage on because, the Bajorans, my ship had 3 attack die most of the time, maybe modified if I wasn't trying to get out of arc. So being able to put a tactical crit on a ship can actually be really valuable. Unfortunately, you have to actually be able to place that crit, and that's where the dice never favor me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm complaining, but the dice never favor me.
This game does still come down to dice.
It does. It does.
Sometimes.
So I think that for me, it's probably going to have to be the card that I brought that really absolutely no use was the Insectoid Rifleman, because that's an action, and I'm collecting Aux tokens.
They saved you from something else being assimilated in
Yes.
our game.
Yeah, they did say you brought the assimilation tubules and you assimilated them. Never used them against me, so it's like, yay. But another thing is I wish I'd brought more rear firing or all around firing capabilities, because I think that would have been game basically. Then I also played the General Orders, which was the resource that came with today's OP. Really, really good, especially with the Weapon 0 because it was free. It's like if you're in the front, it doesn't say as a free action, anything. So even though I had an Aux token, I could put battle stations on, which was really good.
It's a really nice resource. It's going to be seeing a lot of play for the next 18 months.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's for 5 points. You get 5 free battle stations. Not even free battle station actions. You don't have to have it on your action bar. It's very reactive. You can judge when you want to use it. It's pretty fantastic. And they're not even once per round. It can be used. You can have 5 ships and use them all, I think.
Oh, I was only using it once per round.
Oh, I don't think there's a restriction on that.
Ah, okay.
Check it and edit out whatever's wrong.
Well, because I was going to say, common build I do is an Avenger, ISS Avenger with the enhanced hull plating. So then also usually ends the game with 8 oxes if it's a good game. That's another. I didn't feel the tape, but that would have been a good thing. But that's a similar vulnerability to the Muon wave, but it also benefits from the ox or the general orders.
As do all of your cloak ships coming up. That's going to be a very strong defensive.
Oh yeah, because a lot of cloaked ships can't do battle
stations. Unless you have Mendak, but that's essentially that is one per round. So you're kind of starving for battle stations.
Yeah. So signing off from Colorado. Remember to
always stay out of ARC.
Hello players, Would Be Nice is back with a must-have, and WizKids finally beat us, but only because I had no voice to record with. Otherwise we would have had them by a week. So let's go to the movies and build Kruge's Bird of Prey and the HMS Bounty. This is going to be a full one, and we're not getting new TOS crew because I figured we already had them. So let's see how different we'll be. So, Kruge's Bird of Prey is a Burrell class, stat line of 4133, 22 points, Klingon unique 90 forward and rear arcs, target lock cloak, evade sensor echo, 3 crew attack a wep. If cloaked, you may flip your cloak token and attack before any enemy ship of your choice in your forward firing arc. This ship may only field Klingon captains, admirals, and upgrades. The Bounty has the same stats, arcs, and actions, but is fed unique. 4 crew attack. When cloaked, if you reveal a Speed 1 bank maneuver, you may perform a Speed 1 turn instead. Treat this as a red maneuver. The generic has a 2 crew attack weapon, drops a shield. Captain Kruge, 4 points, skill 7, an elite talent, Klingon unique. If an enemy ship with a higher captain skill has your ship in its forward firing arc, your captain skill is equal to theirs. You may field the sneak attack elite talent for -1 SP. That talent is 5 points, Klingon unique. After moving, if you are cloaked, discard this card and flip your cloak token over to immediately attack a ship at range 1 in your forward firing arc, with your primary weapon -1. You may convert 1 battle station's result into a critical, but may not further modify this attack. The target ship rolls no defense, and you may still make a normal attack this round. Our Federation talent is Temporal Slingshot, 5 points unique. After moving, you may discard this card to treat the maneuver as a white maneuver. You may immediately make an additional maneuver from your ship's dial. If you do so, place an Ox beside your ship after making the additional maneuver. Crew time. Valkyris, 4 points Klingon unique. Add a crew or tech slot to your upgrade bar. Discard this card to target a ship at range 1 that's not cloaked. Disable all the tech and weapon upgrades on the target ship. Torg is 3 points Klingon unique. If your ship is equipped with a Klingon boarding party, you may disable this card to use it as a free action this round, or at any time you may discard this card to increase your captain skill by +2 for the rest of the round. Klingon boarding party will be the same as came on the Negvar. Maltz, 3 points Klingon unique. At any time, place 3 time tokens on this card to remove a disabled or all time tokens from any one upgrade on your ship. Klingon Gunner is a non-unique 1 point Klingon. When attacking, discard this card to set 1 attack die to a critical result. This die can't be re-rolled. Discarding this upgrade can't be prevented in any way. Only 1 gunner can be used by a ship in a round. This upgrade can only go on a Klingon ship, and no ship can have more than 2 Klingon gunners. Tech time with Stolen Intelligence, which can also go into the weapon slot. 4 points Klingon unique. During the planning phase, after all maneuvers are set, discard to target an enemy ship at range 1 to 2, look at its dial. You may place an Ox by your ship to change your maneuver, or to change the speed of that dial. The new maneuver must be on the target ship's dial and must not be red, and it can't be changed. High energy photons. Tech, 3 points, dual faction Klingon fed. Action, discard to repair 1 shield or flip over 1 critical damage card. And if you've discarded any elite talent upgrades and have an available slot, you may redeploy one of those elite talent upgrades back to your ship. If you do so, place an Ox by your ship. No ship may have more than 1 of this upgrade. Emergency maneuvers is dual faction as well, 3 points. You don't roll damage when overlapping obstacles. Within range of a minefield, you may scan as a free action. You may not scan as a normal action the round you do this. No ship can have more than 1 of the upgrade. Finally, weapon time. Targeted torpedoes, 4 points, 2 attack, range 1, Klingon, and it's a discard. Why so pricey? Attack, spin your target lock and discard this card. This attack ignores the target ship's shields. If the target ship cannot roll any defense dice, you may convert 1 battle station's result to a hit. Otherwise, if the target ship has no active shields, it rolls -1 defense dice. This attack can only be further modified by a Klingon gunner. And that's it. Lots of ways to sneak in a critical or 2, some fairly useful upgrades. give it a whirl, let us know how it plays, and keep thinking outside that box.
And now it's time for the Warp Core Breach Top 3. We count them up from 3 to 1, and then we toss it over to our contributors, so you get the best bang for your buck.
And now it's time to reflect on our top 3 mirror ship choices.
I see what you did there.
I know it was a bit vain.
You just want to look at yourself in the mirror.
No, I'm more Dorian Gray. You know, I just keep that portrait away from me and I'm good.
Don't you wish mirror was one of those words that if you held it up to the mirror, it looked the same?
Or created like an extra dimension and just infinite space or something.
Yeah. Kind of like how you wish palindrome was actually a palindrome.
No kidding, right?
You know, why couldn't a palindrome be a Hannah? Okay. So, top 3 mirror ships. This is a fun one. We should have had Steven Van Deventer guest on this one, because he actually flew mirror at Worlds last year. He's like the mirror king.
Well, my third is the ISS Defiant. It's a tough little ship, even in the mirror universe. A little bit more powerful than the Federation version, but it has its instability, so it's got its quirks. But hey, you can pop an Ox to reduce by 1 damage. Remind you of a bioship, anyone? Not too bad. Not too shabby. Now, it's double weapon slot, double crew slot. It's lacking tech, but hey, this is the Mirror faction. There's no shortage of ways to gain tech slots. From Smiley the Captain, Jennifer Sisko, and on and on and on. So, you don't need to worry too much about that. And with a full action bar, you don't have much to worry about there.
Yep. Defiant's higher on my list, so I'm going to talk about it more then. My number 3 is the ISS Avenger.
Talk about another tough little ship.
Yeah.
Puppy's got teeth.
So, this is one. Just figure out a way to get an Ox power on it, and now it's a 4330.
Not bad.
Now, of course, my favorite way to do that is with Captain Worf from the Pasteur Pack, who, for an action, you get an extra attack and agility die, and then he takes an Ox power. So now the Avengers roll in 5430. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Not bad.
Nope.
As long as you got the enhanced hull plating to help out, but then of course you're buffing up those Oxes and you only get to do that action once.
True. So then you might not want Worf, you might want like Beverly Crusher, and there's other good ways to do it.
Some passive buffs would be nice as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, go
or some serious Ox.
Yeah, there's a ton of good ways to run the Avenger, and it's still a little ship, but for an NX class, it works pretty well. And yeah, it may only have 2 native attack dice, but it gains attack dice pretty fast.
Oh, and a good way to ensure you get in some damage before it goes boom is if you're playing cross-faction, try something out like Picard Maneuver.
Yeah.
Give you some time to get in there.
And that gives you your built-in Ox power token.
Yep.
So, that's even better. Alrighty. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the IKS Tokat. It's got a good solid stat line. Heck, it's a Vorcha. You know, the slots are reasonable. Tech, double weapon, crew. It's got an okay ship ability. You know, action for a scan, take an Ox. You know, it doesn't come with a scan natively, so why not? It's hard to argue with a Vorcha. They're pretty solid.
I mean, you're not wrong. I did take a Vorcha class as my Klingon pick. But the thing that gets me, to me, that named ability is worthless. Nobody's using that.
Well, hey, if you're facing Cloaked Minds...
This doesn't work. It's not a scan action.
That's debatable.
According to Worf, it's not a scan action.
They ruled on that specifically? On that ship?
No, but they ruled that you have to take a scan action. This is an action, place a scan token, and placing tokens is not the same as taking the action.
I suppose so.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing. Now, I mean, it's a rule that should change, but it's not. But that's not where I want to go. I mean, and you know, the slots here aren't amazing. Like 2 weapons. When's the last time you even put 1 weapon on a Vorcha class outside of building it as a booster?
Well, if you got options like Barrage of Fire and the Phaser Array retrofit, can't complain too much there. And if we're flipping over to Mirror,
careful, the Tokat doesn't have a rear firing arc.
Not too worried about that. Dorsal Weapons Array, nice little mirror trick there. Can't complain, and given that they're disables, you might want to throw 2 on there, and at 2 cost, they're not bad.
I suppose. I'd just rather have a second crew than a second weapon. That's my thing. If I'm only going to have 4 slots on a named ship, I want it to go crew weapon tech.
If for mixed, I'm inclined to agree, but for Mirror Pure, the way the crew shakes out, I'm okay with just 1. I don't necessarily need 2. And especially if I'm playing a fleet of Mirror, I can spread my crew around. Like for the Gen Cisco, which is basically a throwaway character once the game has begun. You've got your slot, you've got your 2 disables, right? You can put that on any ship.
Oh, sure. I mean, but Mirror does also have some very useful generic crew with the Andorian, the Andorian helmsman and the Orion tactical officer. So, those are things that you might want in multiple places.
Yeah, one thing that I tend to do when I play Klingon, even if it's Mirror, is I either play it hardcore with tons of upgrades, or I play them neat and clean, just tidy, very little upgrades. So that's something that, with the power of a Vorcha, I can do that. I don't need too much. How about yours?
My number 2 is the Regents Flagship.
That's my number 1.
I figured as much. And what can you argue when you get 3 crew slots, when you get the ability to shoot at 2 enemies at range 1, and when you functionally get 5 attack dice to do so?
Yeah, it's a solid ship, that's for sure.
Yeah. And, I mean, 10 total durability? That's just amazing.
No kidding.
It's a ship you don't want to cloak, which is great because it doesn't have cloak built in, so you don't care.
Because you don't have to. You can put one on it if you really wanted to, but there's no necessity, and it doesn't sacrifice the scan and battle stations actions. So you can have it all if you really want to pay the points for it.
Yeah.
It comes with a cloak in the pack. You can get another mirror cloak from the Dominion mirror ship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Prakash gives it to you.
Right. So you certainly got your options, but it's not forced on you like it is with the Klingon ships.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the generic Regent's Flagship is pretty bad, but hey, the Regent herself is amazing. All right, so my number 1, we already know what it is. It's the ISS Defiant.
Yes. Now, why would you put the Defiant above the Regent's Flagship?
Because it's a ship that just doesn't die. I have video evidence of a stack of 7 aux power tokens, which represents victory. And that is just a shot after shot after shot of that ship not dying.
Granted, that's a possibility, but that's either relying on a lot of good luck with the rolls or some heavy-duty conversion, because that's not going to hold out forever.
It doesn't have to hold out forever. Even if it's 2 or 3 times, it's less damage that you're taking. And your opponent either ignores it completely,
Mm-hmm.
or they are spending big attacks to kill it. And if they're spending big attacks to kill that ship...
They're not spent on your other ships.
Exactly. And that's still a win.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have...
Shifting focus.
Exactly. So the Defiant either serves as a great ship for a last stand, or a ship that pulls focus away from the rest of your fleet.
Diversionary tactics. Over here! Over here!
Yeah. Everybody pretty much knows what you're doing when you bring in the Regents Flagship. But the Defiant is a little trickier to know how to go about killing.
I get you. From a tactical point of view, it has some variety, some mystery.
And look, those are literally 1 and 1A for me. There is almost no distinction.
Yeah.
And the Avenger is a really close ship in that line. Like, my 1, 2, 3, I could literally put them in any order, and I wouldn't have a problem with the order there.
Oh, yeah. Like, I could totally shift the Tok'at down a notch and bump up the Defiant and not bat an eyelash.
Yeah. And Mirror is probably the faction I have the hardest time picking a favorite in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they designed it really, really well. You and I were talking before we started recording, and we said, if you take out the Pasteur, every ship in Mirror is a good ship.
Mm-hmm.
Kiana Prime is a little weird because of how slow it is and how bulky it is to turn. But that's also a hybrid ship. That's an independent Mirror ship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to pick any other faction outside of bioships and say, hey, exempt this one ship, and now everything here is a legitimately viable ship.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. Anyways, we're swinging away from Mirror. The point is, there's a lot of good ships in Mirror. Any of them are playable, as you will now hear from our contributors.
Hi everyone. My favourite Mirror Universe ship is almost certainly the Mirror Universe version of the Enterprise D. Now, one of my big criticisms of the Prime Universe version of the Enterprise D is it only has primary weapon value of 4. The Mirror Universe Enterprise D loses a shield, but gains an additional attack dice, so it's got 5 dice primary. Its named ability also allows you to disable a shield to get an extra dice, which I think is actually really thematic from the point of view of the Mirror Universe being a more aggressive place. And also it means that you can roll those 6 dice, and with the various upgrades that the Mirror Universe have, that means that you can potentially be rolling as many as 13 dice just by a combination of Captain Sisko and I will deal with them myself. And I think it's a really good platform for making a ship that can fire quite a lot of dice quite a lot of the time. Also is one of the ships, I think as it stands at the moment, is the only ship in the game which can field the fire or weapons upgrade without having to pay either a faction penalty or a penalty for not being either a Sovereign or Galaxy class ship. So that would be my favourite ship, the Mirror USS Enterprise D from the Assimilation Target Prime prize pack.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today's question is of our favorite Mirror Universe ship. I think for me, my favorite Mirror ship is the Assimilation Target Prime, or more specifically, it's the Federation version, or I guess the Mirror Federation version of Riker's Enterprise. It's got a lot to recommend it over the standard Galaxy. It's got a higher primary weapon and a perk which facilitates getting an even bigger punch under some circumstances. And it's got a fairly good selection of crew to go with it. The only problem is that, for me, the Mirror Universe contains a lot of mismatched ships that don't really cohere as a faction. And what the ATP really needs is the dorsal phaser array, and it can't use it. So it is somewhat marred by the faction it was put in and the fact that it doesn't really have enough durability as a Galaxy-class ship should have. But despite all of that, it's a good ship and has a lot to recommend it. And with other Mirror Universe upgrades, like the dorsal weapons array, it can be a pretty good ship in your arsenal. Not quite as good as some ships in the Federation faction, but a good ship and definitely my favorite mirror ship. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.
Hello, this is Steven Stott with Ready to Play Gaming down in Columbia, South Carolina, here today to talk to you about what I consider to be my top mirror ship. Well, I don't run mirror that often, but when I do, the ship I do like to run is the Uss Enterprise D. It's a Galaxy-class mirror ship. Obviously, it has the following stats: 5 attack, 1 agility, 5 hull, and 3 shields. The text on that ship is that you can disable one of your active shields to gain +1 attack die, which boosts that up to 6 attack. Its movement dial is just like the Federation Enterprise D, which I like, which it has that reverse that you can use. So with the attack plus the movement dial, I think it's a pretty formidable ship. You lose 1 shield in the overall strength of the ship, but I think it's packs a punch, and it really works well with alpha strikes and such. So that's what I'm going with, the Enterprise D Galaxy-class Mirror Universe as my top mirror ship. This is Steve Stott from Ready to Play Gaming down in South Carolina, hoping all your dice rolls are hits and evades. Live long and prosper.
This is Big John from the Klingon boarding party fighting out of South Florida at Da Vinci's Dreamwork 2. My favorite mirror ship has got to be the Regents Flagship Negvar. It's a huge ship with a little bit of a bad dial, but some great ship text and some great statistic lines. I just wish it had one more text slot.
Okay, so quick final thoughts here. I had something happen that I never quite thought would happen. I actually lost a little piece of recording. Yeah, that one's totally on me. Nick and I had our final thoughts. Everything all done, all taken care of. We talked about how cool we think the Dravona is, and maybe it's not perfect, but it's at least there, and it's out, and we're happy. So, we'll try to re-record that and stick it in episode 33. I'm sorry about that.
Warp core breach in
anyways,
10,
this show's running
9,
long. I'm going to
8,
get out of here because I've
7,
taken up enough of your guys'
6,
time. Thank you again
5,
for listening. And
4,
until next time.
This is Nick.
3,
and this is David.
2,
Ejecting the
1.
core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
So that's David Montgomery.
Yes.